Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
Good morning with Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. Take your thoughts and comments this morning. Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to the Double T 97.3 mobile app. It's presented by Happy State Bank. Visual Edge IT hotline is open as well. I heard several mentions last night that Bailey Maupin wasn't at her best as she hurt. Certainly didn't play like she was hurt. The young lady is a warrior. No, she's sick. She was sick. So just not feeling it. But man, certainly stepped up to play. Somebody else said they wanted to see the father-daughter meet after the game between Jada Wynn and her dad, Derek, who's an assistant coach. How'd that go, Chuck? Had to be a proud moment for the dad. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I talked to him before the game, and he was like, God, this is weird, having to go up against your daughter. I mean, you can imagine that, Jamie. And then after the game, her mom, who used to coach at the University of Washington, she was the head coach, was wearing a Lady Raider sweatshirt and a UCI hat, so you can understand that. So
sure.
Looked like they were both pretty happy for their daughter, though. But I mean, the dad, he's trying to coach him up, right? So he was on one hand, I think proud for his daughter, on the other hand, kind of let an opportunity slip away there because
9-point halftime lead. They were in control of the game. I
mean, they got up 41-31 at one point, and then they only scored 13 more points the rest of the way. So Tech outscored them 29-13 down the stretch. So that's a pretty good turnaround for that basketball team. And once they went into the zone. All right, Red Raider basketball tonight. They take on Butler. What's your thought going into this one?
I feel good about the Red Raiders' chances. I don't think Butler is the Butler team that we've seen in years past.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Tech figured some things out there and in the Bahamas, and got to believe that came away from that with a lot of confidence. So I really like the Red Raiders' chances tonight.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think they did kind of figure some things out. Butler is 5-2 on the season. They're coming off of back-to-back wins. They beat Boise State 70-56, and they have a win over Penn State 88-78. Their two losses were back-to-back. They lost to Florida Atlantic 91-86 and fell at Michigan State 74-54.
And those are both ranked teams.
Yeah. They have four guys in double figures, led by Pierre Brooks II. He averages 16.7 a game. And then have three other guys that are in double figures. They let's see, from a 3-point standpoint, they average about 8 a game. So they shoot at about 34%, and they've been beating their teams by about 15 a game. From a turnover standpoint, they turn it over about 10 times a game. So probably a team that kind of sounds like takes care of the basketball, at least here in the early going.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of what you always expect when you talk about Butler.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they force their opponents to turn it over about 13 a game. So turnover margins almost +3 for them. So this is a true road game for the Red Raiders, obviously, because they're playing at Hinkle, and so even though they played a couple of games down in the Bahamas, they played 3 down there. Those were obviously neutral site games, but this will give them a real test tonight to see what they've got.
Yeah, good atmosphere, good crowd, supportive fan base, all that good stuff.
Joe Toussaint leads the Red Raiders right now, averaging 14.5 a game. Pop Isaacs 13.7 and Darion Williams 10.2, and then Devin Cambridge is at 9.8, followed by Warren Washington at 8.3. So that's a good compliment right there. Has Joe Toussaint surprised you?
Maybe a little bit. He looks like I love his ability to get to the rim.
Mm-hmm.
I love his kind of fearlessness there. I would prefer he not shoot as many threes as he does. But man, I love him going to the basket. He looks like the spark plug for that team. Kind of the heart and soul of the squad so far. Well, I think he's a terrific defender as well. So, man, when he's going to the basket, I think it's a good thing. So, maybe a little bit. Yeah. I mean, I figured he would be a big factor, but I think he's been better than I would have expected.
Yeah, he's averaging 33 minutes a ball game. He leads the Red Raiders in that.
It shows you his importance right there.
Yeah. And when you talked about his three-point shooting, he's 9 of 28 on the season, so he's at 32%. The guy that you'd like to get a little bit more accurate on his three-point shooting is Pop Isaacs, and you feel like that'll come. And maybe that has come over the last couple of games.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about Pop at this point. We know he's a terrific shooter. He's just
kind of find his shot, right?
Yeah. Be all
right. He's shooting at about a 27% clip, but he's 12 of 45, and he's averaging 13.7 points a ball game. The one thing about him you'd love, and he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot, so he's going to lead the team in turnovers. But right now, he's got 19. Mm-hmm. 19. So in your first, your 5-1 in the season. So he's a little over 3 a ball game so far. Red Raiders have just the one loss, and that was to Villanova. That was last Thursday, 85-69. It kind of seems like a while ago, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It seems like.
I mean, they've played a couple games since then, so yeah.
Seems like a while ago. At least it does. At least it does to me. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to kind of seeing that Hinkle Fieldhouse. I mean, I think it always kind of lives up to its expectations to a certain degree. I mean, when you go into a kind of a historic facility like that, you would compare that to like a Cameron Indoor or something along those lines. As a place that people would love to maybe see a game or play a game or something like that.
Yeah, I'm sure it falls into that category. I don't know that I'd put it quite as high as Cameron, but
it's pretty high. I mean, that's a pretty. I mean, it only has 6,000 seats. Have you ever gone into that one? Have you been there?
No.
Okay, there have been some guys that it's not the easiest place to get into during the day, but I've talked to some guys that have had that experience. I want to say Garrett Luft has done that. I want to say that he worked one day to figure out a way to, and finally made it in. But it's it's obviously kind of be a cool place to to see a game and kind of experience that, especially if there's a game going on. I mean, it's one thing to kind of see the place; it's another thing to experience the actual game going on and something along those lines. So this would be a good resume win if you could get this win tonight.
Yeah, hopefully Butler turns out to be a good team. I would expect they will be.
Yeah, so we'll have it tonight at 4:30. Play-by-play at 5:30 tonight from Indianapolis as far as Texas Tech basketball is concerned tonight. So we'll get some comments from Coach Grant McCaslin throughout the morning this morning as Red Raiders go for win number 6 on the season. So, and then after this game, Texas Tech will come back on December the 6th and take on Omaha, and then break for finals and play Oral Roberts on December the 12th. So I've not gotten December into my head yet in terms of what days are what days. I mean, I know that they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I understand that.
That they do.
Tomorrow is the 1st.
Tomorrow is the 1st. I'm just having.
Start from there.
I know. I just haven't figured out what day of the week the 6th is. Okay, that's Wednesday, and then they come back. They're off for the next few days because of finals, and they'll play on December the 12th, which is a Tuesday against Omaha, and then they have the neutral site game on the 16th, which is a Saturday at Dickies Arena in Fort Worth when they face Vanderbilt. So it all kind of clicks together like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way to 31.
All the way.
All the way to 30. And then we started a brand new year. It's sometimes you make it to be more complicated, or I make it to be more complicated than it needs to be. That's kind of the way it goes, though. We'll have Cowboy football tonight. It seems strange for them to play back-to-back Thursdays. They face the Seattle Seahawks. Russell Wilson no longer there, but see if the Cowboys can stack a little success there.
Yeah, Seahawks have been kind
Geno
of up
Smith
and down.
is their quarterback.
Up and down team this year.
Yeah, they have capabilities. Somebody asked this question real quick. Is it possible that the Bahamas brought the team together, whereas last year Maui tore the team apart? Maybe so. Maybe so. They're allowed to get together. That's the purpose of those trips, is to build a bond, not to build a bonfire. 6:25.
It's funny what happens when your coach stays with a team, right?
Right.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Wonder how the Indianapolis folks feel about a 6:30 tip time for Butler and Texas Tech tonight. I wonder if they prefer that to be 7 or 7:30. To get off work time, get to the ballpark, get to the arena, get to the field house. And to get off work a little bit early to get over there. A lot of Joes asking Cliff for, hey man, I'm going to go to the ball game tonight. Can I slide away here about 15 minutes early?
Yeah, I'm not real sure what they think, Chuck.
Okay.
Not really.
Like that, Joe and Cliff, trying to kind of figure it out there in the warehouse there in Indianapolis, trying to see who's going to get to go to the ball game. Well, Sam, he wanted to go too. But not
Tough deal.
Tough deal for him. We'll have the Cowboys on the air tonight. How about this? I did not know this. The Cowboys are the first team. Seems to be crazy to me. The Cowboys are the first team in NFL history to win their first 5 home games in a season by at least 20 points.
Well, I mean, it does seem like a crazy stat, and then you look at the teams that they've played,
Sure.
You're like, nah, that's expected.
Yeah, but I mean, for a team that really has not met expectations over the last few years, they're at least starting to.
Few meaning 25.
I think they've met expectations over the last few years.
Well, they've come up short in the playoffs.
Did you think they were winning the Super Bowl?
No, but I mean, I
Did you think they were going to be a playoff team?
Yes,
And they have been.
and they have been.
Then did you think they would be early round exits in the playoffs?
No,
No, I did.
no, I didn't. When they're playing at home, I feel like that you should, probably show up a little bit better than what they have.
One game here or there, yeah, that's fair. Okay. But I feel like I expected them to be a playoff team, and they were, and a good team, but it's
Not great.
not great.
Yeah. Okay. They got to. I don't know that they're looking ahead. They can't afford to look ahead. But up next for them is a rematch with Philadelphia. But first things first, they have to take on a Seattle team that is 6-5 on the season. Cowboys are favored by 9.5 points. But you have to give it up to Dak Prescott. I mean, he has performed in these games that he needed to perform in.
And played well against the Eagles, really well.
But I mean, he has, right now he's on this roll where he's got 18 touchdowns and just 2 interceptions since the San Francisco loss, 42-10. Seahawks coming off of a loss to the 49ers on Thanksgiving, 31-13. So maybe the question mark is how good are the 49ers? And maybe for the Cowboys, I mean, if they were to beat Philadelphia, I mean, Philadelphia is they're the best team in the NFL right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're the best team in the NFL right now. So if you could,
and I mean, the Cowboys were right there with them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's encouraging.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's going to be tough to unseat them. I mean, they've got a 2-game lead in the NFC East. It's hard to kind of think that Philadelphia is going to lose, 2 more times. And then the Cowboys would be in a situation where they would be tied with them because they would have to beat them. But anything can happen. But first things first, Cowboys are 5-0 at home. They're 3-3 away from home. They're 3-1 in division games, 5-3 in the conference games, and they're 8-3 on the season. And so far, you would have to say that Dak Prescott has performed this year.
I would agree.
You would have.
I would agree.
And
obviously didn't play great in that 49ers game, but
no.
Yeah, he's had a great season so far. And he's had great regular seasons before.
Yeah. 259 of 370, 70% completion rate. He has 23 touchdowns on the year. He's got 6 interceptions. And then, just from, a running standpoint, I think, Tony Pollard has been solid. He's averaging 4.2 yards per carry. And then I think the other guy, Rico Dowdle, he's been a really good backup, for Pollard, and he's been steady. He's been a guy that can hang on to the football, and he's only scored 1 touchdown, but he's been able to get critical yards for you when you need them, and spell Pollard. And then from a receiving standpoint, I think CeeDee Lamb is just, he's
stud, one of the best in the bigs.
Yeah.
In the league,
yeah.
not the bigs. But.
Yeah, he's got 78 catches, 6 touchdowns. He's averaging almost 14 yards a catch. And then I think the other guy that, I don't know if this is a surprise or if it's just nice to see him kind of continue at this level, but Brandon Cooks has been a great addition for the Cowboys.
Solid. Mm-hmm.
And then I think
there was a time early on in the season where you felt like he was a little bit of a disappointment, but I feel like he's come on of late.
Mm-hmm. And then, you've gotten some, good. I think you haven't had the drop off maybe at the tight end spot that I thought you were going to have. So, and then defensively, what can you say? Micah Parsons he's been a beast. He's got 11.5 sacks. He's a difference maker. He's put that pressure on the quarterback that all teams want.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's going to be a problem for Geno Smith tonight and for the Seahawks, and you can disrupt that. That goes a long ways to putting your offense in a good spot. And then, man, the guy that's been the star of the show also on defense has been Deron Bland with just his ability to get the pick six. It's just crazy. He's got 6 of them. All right, 5 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. This is crazy.
Yeah.
He's just got a nose for the football. So
and then a playmaker once he gets it in his hands.
So do you expect a double-digit win tonight by the Cowboys?
Yeah, I don't expect a blowout, but if it was, 10 or 14, that wouldn't shock me.
Does it? If you were like this fervent fan of the Cowboys, does it bother you that they're playing back-to-back Thursdays? Do you think that's a disadvantage for them?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Because the beauty for them is they'll get a little bit of a break, after this. They'll get a couple days off before they have to play next week.
So the team they played last Thursday was on the same amount of rest, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the team they're playing this Thursday is on the same amount of rest.
Mm-hmm.
So how could it be an advantage or disadvantage?
I don't know. Just on your, I wasn't necessarily thinking about the opponent so much as just the wear and tear of the player, of the quick turnaround from. But it's a week from Thursday to Thursday. I get that, but
so you're only playing on one short week.
Yeah,
Everybody does it.
Yeah, you're only playing on one short week. That's fair. The Cowboys play this. They play tonight, and then they play again against Philadelphia, which is the Sunday night game. That'll be in Dallas on Sunday, December the 10th. And, of course, we'll have that game for you here on Double T 97.3. Our coverage tonight at 6 on 100.7 The Score. We'll pick it up after the Tech broadcast tonight here on Double T 97.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
On Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com. Speaking of Ole Miss, our good friend and the co-host of Tech Talk in the afternoon, Dr. Mike Gustafson, sent this to me about Ole Miss, a little bit of news for them from last night. Former Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year at Oklahoma State, Musa Cisse, has now been cleared by the NCAA to play at Ole Miss. Apparently they found out right before the game last night with NC State.
Exciting. It's funny how many guys were initially declared ineligible, and then they changed it.
Right. So what's the deal on that? Was there threat of litigation? Did the NCAA finally get through all their paperwork? I mean, what? Because you've had some former Tech players be in that same situation.
I don't know what the answer is there, Chuck. I do not know.
On one hand, if a rule is a rule, okay, then make it a rule. Then don't go back. If this is the rule, then that's the rule. On the other hand, is if you're going to be wishy-washy about it, or if you're going to eventually, let the kid play, then why penalize the kid and the team for the first month of the season? It's like make a decision. Damn it! I mean, come on.
Like at a certain point, you're excited. They ruled me eligible, and then you start thinking about it, and you're like, what in the world? Why did I just have to miss the first 8 games of the season? Or whatever?
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
doesn't make any sense. All right, so let's move to our game tonight.
I know how you can avoid that.
By not transferring.
Yeah, just go to a school and stay there.
It seems so foreign anymore. It just seems so. It's so foreign.
How many guys do we have on our team that have played for more than 2 schools?
I'd have to look at a roster, but more than 2. I mean, that's
crazy.
It is crazy. I mean, and it is crazy. I mean, and starting to see that more and more. Say.
I don't disagree that it is crazy, but I also feel like when you get the new coach in, though, that can happen more often because the guys that weren't working out are removed.
No,
and you're bringing in new guys that may have already transferred that you got the new coach knows and wants to bring in. Like Dion got a lot of flack for cleaning house in Colorado. Well, they weren't good. He was bringing in players that he was trying to make the team better with. And it's not like they were getting rid of, all Americans all across the board to bring in his players. He was making the roster better. You want your new coach to do that.
No, I see but Jamie's point is more than 2 schools.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, we're seeing more and more of that. All right, let me get this for you. Pierre Brooks is their big stud for Butler. He averages almost 17 points a ball game. Coach Grant McCaslin the other day on how to limit Pierre Brooks for this game against Texas Tech.
I mean, I think when you look at Butler, they've got a lot of new guys that are filling out roles too, and you see them trying to adapt to new opportunities. And so I feel like they've got different guys that are playing well on different nights, but the physicality Pierre brings and the way he's played recently, you could tell it was a big reason why they won their last 2 games. Feels like they're shifting a little bit in who they want to be a primary go-to guy and how they're playing, and they're learning their team just like we are.
And what I was going to say is, until he said that, is could you say some of those same things about Texas Tech, Jamie?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no doubt.
And they may say the same thing about Joe Toussaint. Mm-hmm. That he's, maybe developed into a little bit more of or is playing at a bigger level than maybe what they had anticipated. Who knows? Maybe this is exactly what they anticipated out of Joe Toussaint. But there's a guy that played at Iowa and played at West Virginia and now playing at Texas Tech. Mm-hmm. So he's on team number 3. And sometimes teams are pretty good at this, they'll list that in the roster, transferred here, and then sometimes you have to dig inside their player bios and go, oh, he was at this school or she was at this school and this school and this school. It's one thing to be at, and what you're seeing some of this is at a junior college and then at a Division I school, and then it doesn't work out, or maybe it works out really well and they get to be better, and then they leave that school and go to someplace else. Mm-hmm. One last thing from McCaslin. Here is what he wants out of this first true road game, besides the obvious of a win.
Honestly, the biggest thing is how do we minimize maybe some of those early 3-point shots that we don't get paint touches first? How do we get an opportunity to get to the free throw line, get an inside-out shot as a part of what we're doing? It feels like early in the game we fired several threes before we've got paint touches, and I like our best shooters shooting shots if they're open, so I don't want that to be a second thought. But if they're half contested, how do we get a better one that feels like we need to make the biggest improvement?
You just talked about
and maybe going from getting a good shot to a great shot.
Coach McCaslin is scratching where I itch. I'm not a fan at all of the pull-up 3 off the dribble. You get a paint touch first, and that percentage goes up by like 15 to 20% if you're kicking back out to that 3-point shooter at any level. And so I feel like the threes that you were taking in the last bit of the Northern Iowa game were threes that were going inside out, and then you were kicking out to those shooters who were knocking down shots, and it was impressive how good you were offensively at that point.
Get your feet set and get a better shot off, all those things.
Yeah, no, it's just it's a more difficult one, and obviously good players can dribble the ball up the court and knock down a shot, but the percentage is just higher. Again, boys, girls, men, women, any level, NBA, whatever. When the ball's coming from the inside out to an outside shooter. So I would like to see what he is talking about there. Just and it sounds like he felt like early on in games, because he said minimize the early ones. Sounds like he feels like early on in games his team settles for that a little bit, and then and then they settle in and figure out what they need to do right. So he's looking for them to kind of run the game plan immediately. Let's not wait 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah, you're right. Right now, you're averaging 23 made baskets a game and about 12 assists a game. So you'd probably like to see that gap close a little bit too, which would speak to what you're just talking about. The other thing that you'd probably like to do a little bit better job of is taking care of the basketball. Seems like that's been the case the last couple of games, but you're averaging 13 and your opponent's averaging 13. So far this season. So you'd like to see if you could kind of turn that down a little bit in terms of the turnovers.
Yeah, but I don't feel like 13 is a huge number, especially considering how many new players you have.
No,
staff
you're that's fair. I mean, it's just that your opponent tonight's averaging about 10. So you'd like to have less than your opponent. Mm-hmm. But that's fair. What you're talking about there. It's, in terms of number of new players and trying to get everybody to figure each other out. So, you look at this game tonight and go, it's a winnable ball game, would be a nice win. I'll be curious about the crowd tonight, how intense that is or isn't. Will they get up for a Big 12 school? Do they look at this and go, oh, this is a big game tonight? Mm-hmm. I wonder how the Butlers look at this and go, or is this just, it's obviously a real team because it's a Big 12 team. It's a Power 5 team coming into their gym, and they probably still have a little bit of a, chip on their shoulder but they also look at themselves and go, well, we've been to a couple Final Fours too. We've got some street cred. Not necessarily with the players that they have on the floor, and certainly, we're in the same boat there along those lines. But I don't know. I'm just kind of curious what the crowd's going to look like tonight there at Hinkle Fieldhouse. We'll have Jamie's question of the day next here this morning on the Morning Drive. A reminder, Cowboys play tonight to take on the Seattle Seahawks. We'll have that for you on 100.7 The Score at 6. Tech Men play tonight. We'll have it at 4:30. The tips at 5:30 from Hinkle Fieldhouse there in Indianapolis.
This is the Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Time now for Jamie's question of the day on Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3.
Okay, so there's this is a 4-parter.
Oh my God. 4-parter.
I want you to tell me, we're talking Red Raider basketball right now. And I want you to tell me 2 things that you think you know about our team after 6 games. And I want you to tell me 2 things you're still worried about. And the things you think you know, they can be positive or negative. It's up to you.
Okay. I really like Joe Toussaint's play so far. I think what he's been able to do for you, it seems like he's been able to get big shots for you when you need them, even some threes when you need them. I love that Warren Washington is 7 foot. I'm concerned that Warren Washington isn't strong enough around the rim. He is, though, averaging 8 rebounds a ball game, so I do like that. But I'm concerned about when you get into Big 12 play, when he's going up against those bigger guys, can he finish at the rim? I love the fact that Pop Isaacs can be a guy that can be a gamer and score when you need him to score. I'm concerned about his 3-point shooting. I think that's 4.
Okay. We kind of meandered around there.
I did, right? I know. I kind of went back and forth.
We're good.
Okay.
Okay, so things that I don't know first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't know how this team's going to handle Big 12 play yet. And I'm not going to know that until they start playing tougher competition, which in theory starts tonight. They could be really competitive in Big 12 play. And I'm not talking like win the conference or anything, but be in every game that they, and this goes into what I think I know, is that I think you've got an offensive defense that play well together, that it's not just one or the other. The other thing that I don't know about this team is, well, I think maybe Joe Toussaint's the answer to this. Who's the guy that's going to get that? Who's going to be the guy that's going to take over a game? you're kind of seeing that, but I'm more worried about Big 12 play than non-conference play in that. And we've seen many times in the past where the non-conference hero wasn't your Big 12 hero.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still trying to figure out, and I hate to make this comparison because it's so unfair, but who's the Keenan Evans of this team? Who's going to be the guy that says, no, we're not losing this game. Follow me, boys. Let's go. And maybe you don't need that.
Man, I would tell you right now, that's Joe Toussaint.
I hope so, but I don't know because of conference play. That's when that matters the most. And the other thing that I know about this team, or that I think I know about this team, is they're playing together. And we've seen what happens when they don't. When a team doesn't, firsthand, it's not fun. It looks like a group of guys that is enjoying each other's company when they're on the court and they're working together. So, a step.
We all shouldn't be that excited about that, but after what we went through last year,
yeah,
it's something to be excited about.
So there's my 2 up and 2 questions.
All right, 2 things that I think I know. I'll start with number 1. Okay, I think that Joe Toussaint and Darian Williams, perfect additions for Coach McCaslin's style of basketball. Both are tough. Both are versatile in the ways that they can affect a game. Both are solid defenders. Just feel like really veteran, strong, minded and like, hey, I'm not gonna allow you to take me out of my game. I'm gonna do the right thing. I'm gonna do the dirty work. All of that. I feel like they're perfect guys for what Coach McCaslin's trying to do, which is, hey, let's attack on the offensive end, but let's be physical and defend, on the defensive end as well. So number 1, I think that. Devin Cambridge, I think, is the most underrated player on the team. He can get buckets without running plays for him. He will do the dirty work. And I like the fact that even though he's not a great outside shooter, he stays within himself. Okay? Gets to the glass a bunch. He's physical, a guy that, is going to help you in some key spots, because if you're having a bad day shooting, he's going to get you points with offensive rebounds and putbacks. So another guy, really, I could have added him to that first group of guys that I think really Coach McCaslin has to be really happy with. Okay, my concerns. Number 1, Warren Washington, and really the entire inside. You haven't had anybody step up behind him, and to me, I continue to worry about him being able to handle the pounding of the Big 12. He's shown some great highlight plays, but hasn't. I would have guessed he would have been a more consistent scoring threat for the Red Raiders so far this season. So I'm a little bit worried about Warren Washington, but I think, I just think there's more for him. Maybe he's a guy that, when the Red Raiders learn how to use him a little bit more, he's got the potential to be a big-time player for you. But I'm still nervous. And again, nobody's really stepped up behind him in that second or third string big man, which kind of scares me a little bit, because some teams in the Big 12 will challenge you in the post, and we know that Washington has had issues with foul trouble in his past. Okay, so that's the one thing that concerns me. Other thing that concerns me a little bit, I think Chance McMillan has the chance to be an explosive scorer for you, but I don't think he's quite figured out how to play in Coach McCaslin's style of play. And actually, Chuck, go back to that quote from Coach McCaslin about, wanting to go inside out and all that. You see Chance's minutes, they've been all over the place. And I think he has the opportunity or the ability to be an immediate impact guy when he comes off the bench. But I feel like he's settling for outside shots a little bit too much. And so I think that's why you saw his minutes drastically cut in the Michigan game. The only 3 shots he took were 3-point shots, and I didn't feel like he was attacking enough. And so I want to see him figure out how to play in this system, because I think he's got the potential to be an explosive scorer for you off the bench.
Yeah, Chance McMillan is 7 of 25 from beyond the arc. So 25 of his 35 field goal attempts have come from beyond 3.
He's a great athlete. He needs to use that athleticism a little more.
And then he's just 2 of 3, speaking about not getting inside, only 2 of 3 from the free throw line. So he's only had 3 free throw attempts. And of the guys that have 20 or more minutes, I mean, he has 3. Most everybody else has 20 or more attempts.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Jamie Lent, Jeff McGuire, I'm Chuck Heinz. Hour from now, we'll hear from Choice Woodman and also Jeff Haxton. Jeff is in Indianapolis with the Red Raider basketball team. You'll hear him on the broadcast tonight at 4:30 here on Double T 97.3. They take on Butler tonight from Hinkle Fieldhouse. This is a bucket list deal for Haxton. I hope he toured on their if they went to the gym last night when they got there, and I don't know what their routine is, the men's routine, but I hope he got to kind of walk around, because he has said Hoosiers is his favorite sports movie, and this going to Hinkle and broadcasting a game is a bucket list thing for him. Mm-hmm. So I hope he walked around the facility a little bit.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Me too.
Yeah.
So, can I change the subject, Johnny, here a little bit?
Yeah.
What did you think of Matt Rule's comments yesterday?
Oh, that's crazy. You mean with the $1 million quarterback thing, $1 million or $2 million if you got a quarterback in the transfer portal? I mean, it's like, really? $1 million? That's what we're talking about here? Because the number that you hear thrown around by the collectives is, well, 10 or 25 or something like that, $1,000, per player. But he's saying that if you want to go get yourself a transfer quarterback, it's $1 million or $2 million. Does that mean that he paid $1 million or $2 million for his? $1 million or $2 million for his?
Well, I think his point is that they weren't going to go that route. I mean, they have 3 guys that played a bunch this year. I think his point was that the question was asked about if they were going to bring guys in through the portal at the quarterback position, and I think he basically said, we're not spending that money.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because we've seen Dabo be that way a little bit with, he's been pretty adamant that they're not going to use the portal a bunch at Clemson. Mm-hmm. And
Mike Gundy, too, at Oklahoma State.
It's not gone so well for Clemson.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Oklahoma State was probably better than we thought they were going to be this year. Mm-hmm. I don't really think they were a great team. I think they had a pretty easy, one of the easier schedules in the Big 12 Conference. And I think the conference is really mediocre this year. So, I don't know that it's just gone awesome for him either, but boy, these coaches that are vocal and outspoken against it, you just feel like, man, they don't have much of a chance to be a contender on the national stage.
Well, let me ask you this: Do you believe Matt Rule?
Well, it depends on which one you're going after. Mm-hmm. Obviously. What the situation is for certain guys. We've heard of some big names hitting the portal. I wouldn't be shocked to see them getting $1 million. I really have no idea, Chuck, but that seemed a little bit high to me if I'm being honest. But I mean, if we were paying basketball players a year ago $450,000 to play basketball, you don't think a starting quarterback would get way more than that on the free agent market? Yeah,
no. And he also said this, Matt Rule did. He said, let's make sure we all understand what's happening. There are some teams that have $6 or $7 million players playing for them. I mean, is he trying to make an excuse for his 5-7 record? Maybe. Is he trying to say?
Well, it's the same. So we've got Dabo now. You've got Matt Rule. It's the same thing that Mora said last week, right? Mm-hmm. When he was like, to his fan base, hey, you want us to compete with those other teams? Well, give me money to buy players like the other teams can do.
Get your checkbook out, right? And
man, I don't know. I mean, college sports is such a big money deal, and I get all of it, and especially college football, college basketball. But man, it's got to be so much just completely different world for these coaches than when they started coaching and where they are now. Like, what in the world has happened?
Mm-hmm. And for some of these coaches maybe that are just getting in, I mean, it's like, well, this is just the way it is. And for the coaches that like Dabo Sweeney or Matt Rule or other guys that are in there, you know, that have been coaching, let's just say been a head coach for 10 or 15 or 20 years, they're like, man, what in the world's going on here? How do I adapt to this and wrap my head around it? And because Matt Rule says we just kind of believe in doing things the old school way, the hard way, building. Well, fans don't want you to build; they want you to win, right? Right now, yeah, like today, or off with your head, and we'll move on. It's like people saying, was Joey McGuire going to be on the hot seat if he goes 6-6 again? I don't think so, but you know, it's like, look at your history. Do you think he'd be on the hot seat at 6-6 again?
I don't think he'd be fired, but
hot seat.
I mean,
warm seat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't think he deserved to be?
No, I think he deserved to be. Yeah, I think he deserved to be.
Okay, yeah. And so you don't think he would be? He would. So you're saying he would deserve to be, but Kirby Hocutt and the administration be like, we're good.
That's a. I'm trying to wrap my head around. Okay, that would be year 3, 6-6. Yeah, I think the question would be would you extend him again? That'd be the question. You wouldn't get a full extension, so that really puts you on the hot seat. So no, yeah, it'd be warm at 6-6.
Yeah, I'm not saying I think he would be fired.
Yeah,
but
it would be warm.
I don't think that any. Kirby Hocutt would be going back to his list again and looking, okay, so I got to be paying attention to other guys.
Yeah.
I got to update this thing to see who I'm interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll see how the next season goes probably. But, yeah, we're not sitting here going, yeah, nothing to see here. Everything's great.
Yeah, that wouldn't be the case. That certainly wouldn't be the case. But, I mean, here's the deal is, going into next year, you're going to be substantially younger than what you were this year.
Yeah.
And so, you know, can you honestly look at
depending on what you do in the transfer portal?
Sure. Yeah. And does his philosophy change from maybe year 1 or year 2 of, hey, I'm going to be very selective about the transfer portal, or do they get more aggressive in the transfer portal because they went 6-6?
Does it feel different to you? It does to me. Okay, but does it feel different to you than to have a collective here that pays every one of our football players $25,000?
Mm-hmm.
Or when you hear about a team saying, hey, we can get that quarterback if we brought him in and paid him $500,000 or $1 million. Does that feel different to you? Because it feels completely different to me.
Absolutely feels completely different.
It's completely different to me.
It feels like the spirit of the law is completely different by saying we're going to pay this guy $1 million or $500,000, so whether it's football or basketball.
Yeah.
It feels like it's beyond the scope of what they were thinking.
Yeah.
It almost feels like we're headed to a salary cap.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.